Hey, this is Carlo of 4GQ TV here with a very special interview. We have a special guest today. First, I'll introduce my co-host, Paul, also known in the community as Cerebral Paul. But we have Tom Cridland on. Hopefully I said that correctly, Tom.
Yep, you got it. You nailed it.
Okay, just want to make sure. I'm known for saying the names wrong sometimes, so just want to make sure I got it right. But really excited to have you here. You are very talented, and you're doing some really amazing things right now. And we kind of want to know about your story, how you got into it, and everything. So the first question I'll ask you is, how did you get started to become involved with music and that kind of genre?
Well, I grew up on the Beatles, so I was Beatles obsessed as a kid. And, I just maintained a huge interest in music as a fan throughout my life. And, if you read my book, Million Dollar Addict, you will learn the extent of my alcohol problem. And I've been clean and sober for about 6 or 7 years. So that was the point at which I decided to start, learning how to sing, learning how to play. And I just had that in mind as a hobby, but I began to take it more and more seriously. I thought, what's the point in just doing this and being defeatist and saying, I can't do anything, professional. I might as well try and do something professional, not get upset if people give me constructive criticism or tell me, you're not good enough for this. Just to, take that on board, try and improve, and then try and get to the next stage. And I've just tried to stay calm throughout music because a lot of people get very hot-headed about music. They take things very personally, and I just consider it to be a joy, because before taking it up, before singing, before playing, I had a serious alcohol problem and was really drinking myself to death. So it all stems from that decision 6 or 7 years ago in terms of actually getting involved in the industry.
Now,
Real quick, so I just want to make this very clear. So you weren't into music or playing or singing before you got clean and sober 6 and 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago.
No,
So
no.
you've accomplished everything you've done in the last six. Wow, that is, I mean, that's incredible. That's
Oh,
uh, absolutely amazing.
well, that's very kind of you to say so, Paul. I mean, I must emphasize as well to people listening who have ambitions and think, oh, it's too late to get started. I felt insecure for a lot of the first couple of years of the 6 years. And also, I switched around a lot. So I started off because of my friendship with Nigel Olsson, Elton's drummer, and, obviously an accomplished drummer in rock history in his own right. Um, I wanted to be just like Nigel and Don Henley and Phil Collins and other singing drummers. So I learned the drums in a year. I was practicing hours a day. I did 100 gigs behind the drum kit singing. And then I realized actually it's more practical to be a piano player like Elton. So I had to give all of that up. And people have off days. The singing voice is a human thing. And if you haven't had much experience when you're in a recording studio for the first time, like what some of my first sessions were with Earl Slick, David Bowie's guitarist at Abbey Road. And so Abbey Road making me nervous, Earl Slick making me nervous. The engineer was not a very nice person, also making me nervous. I had an off day, and for some reason I managed to get through these little bumps along the way, because I really love music, and I just I'm realistic. There are going to be some problems with this industry, and I just don't take it too seriously or take it to heart because as far as I'm concerned, it's the Wild West out here, uh, and uh, and it's an honor to be involved in music, and it's a privilege, and it's like if I wanted to go into something easier and more lucrative, I could become an investment banker.
oh, there you go. I mean, that is the truth right there, right? To be in music, you have to have the passion for it, and then to stay in it, your heart really has to be there because at some point it goes from a passion project to almost like a persistent kind of hobby that you constantly got to practice, constantly try different things and experiment, and then it also there's a business side to it too, which could be a little bit rough. So, I mean, the fact that you've come from your past and drinking into the music business within 6 years is actually quite astounding. That's amazing that you've done that.
Well, thank you, Carla. That's very kind. I mean, you say what you say is so true about the business side. I mean, the problem is that a lot of musicians complain a lot about money, complain a lot about the business side, and a lot of people are treated very unfairly. Don't get me wrong. I do sympathize and agree with that. But at the same time, it's like being in the music industry is optional. It's a free world. You don't like the contract that you're in, if you don't like the circumstances that you find yourself in, and if you don't like the industry or the career, quit, go and do something else. This really is as simple as that. So I've never let myself feel like too much of a victim. When in the early days playing down the pub, the money's been terrible. If people have tried to, people complain, oh, these venues, they make me do my own promotion. It's like, well, why should they do your promotion? You know, it's there's a lot of entitlement in the music industry, and I've really tried to stay clear of that. But of course, at the same time, I've got the huge benefit of playing timeless music by Elton. So it's easier for me than say if I was touring with my original music, which I have done. And I play originals, when I support the stylistics, and that's a whole different deal. So this is a difficult industry, and I've always tried to think, no one's forcing me to do this. So if I complain to my mates who are working long hours in corporate jobs, they'll just think, no one's told you to do music.
Yeah.
Go and do something else.
I also like you mentioned that, some people complain when all they have to do their own promotion. Personally, I think if you're going to do it, you should learn every aspect of it, because then you really understand everything that it takes for you to do what you're doing. You're not just, well, my job is to get up there and sing. You guys do the rest. Okay, that's not really the best way to look at it. I don't think. I think if you're the captain of the ship, you should know every system works. You know.
Absolutely. That's what makes it such a tricky industry. But the ones who get further are really switched on in a business sense. And look at Elton himself. I mean, he is a marketing genius. He's always reinventing himself. He's always making friends with younger artists. I personally don't particularly like that Dua Lipa collaboration he did, Cold Heart, but it got over 1 billion streams on Spotify. So, and he's selling out stadiums at age 75. So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's astounding. I mean, if you could make it that long and a career, that is, what's the proper English word? Brilliant. That would be brilliant. So I just want to touch a little bit on your past too, because I know you mentioned you have a book called The $1 Million Addict. And I'm curious, why was it titled The $1 Million Addict?
Well, I posted something on YouTube saying, I'm bringing out a book about my drinking years, about how I kind of turned my life around. And I've got like 25,000, not subscribers on YouTube, nothing crazy, but a nice community there. And I thought they would be very well qualified to suggest some titles. And the one I liked the best was $1 Million Addict. And Elton had a show in Vegas called $1 Million Piano. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. And the meaning of the title is kind of like, obviously addict because of the drinking side of things. And I would say, if you add up all of the terrible decisions, money wasted, money spent on drinking over several years, I reckon I wasted probably $1 million. I may as well have not bothered working so hard because of money lost to poor business deals, interest, drinking disasters, and other financial disasters. I mean, I don't want to go back and do another forensic audit, but I have at one stage added all of this stuff up, and it was more than $1 million. So, it is pretty difficult to take, but I figured that's kind of it's an eye-catching title. It's a catchy title.
It is. I mean, it certainly is. Where can people find your book?
They can find it on tomcridland.com. And we're going to be putting it on Amazon and Walmart and places like that later this year. But yeah, it's just a book for people who are interested in either giving up drinking or giving up another addiction, or you don't need to be interested in that side of things. If you just want to read something pretty entertaining, And then again, and or if you're looking to start a business and you have limited resources and stuff, I had a wonderful education. I come from a privileged background, but I did not have any money to start a business, and that's I mean that's the be all and end all, really. I did manage to get £6,000. So and I didn't know anyone in business. I didn't know anyone in music, fashion, you name it. I had no real great connections. Because I was just a lazy student. I just had my friend group. I went out drinking. I listened to music. I went to gigs. Um, I met my wife when I was 18, and I was just focused on having an amazing time with her, my then girlfriend, now wife. So when I started, it really was kind of from the ground up. And so if you're interested in doing something like that, it's quite a good book because it doesn't airbrush things. It tells you the real deal.
I think a lot of people need to hear the truth behind, the cost of, spending time on other things instead of doing your hobbies or doing, something with your life to make a goal. I think it's important for a lot of people today to understand that when you waste time, you're wasting that time on something that takes away from your life. If that makes sense. I mean, I know kind of went in a circle there, but I'm just trying to get to that point that, you should want to learn from other people and move forward. So it sounds like your book is a great thing for people to read.
Oh, thank you, Colin.
I want to talk about your touring and your music right now, because I know that you said that currently you're in Philadelphia. So what is it that you're doing in Philadelphia?
Well, I'm working on a new project which is going to be announced later this year. It's going to be exciting if we pull it off. So I can't say too much more.
Okay.
But
okay.
all I can say is in a few months, hopefully, check for news about the stylistics, and you should be very pleasantly surprised.
That's great. That's great to hear. But you do have something going on, and I think I could talk about that. It's your tour. You're going on tour.
Oh yeah, that's first. And we're playing a lot of concerts all over America. I've done that before when I first learned piano and went out in the back of a van and played small venues, learned my craft, really worked at it. Um, didn't We've never played to tracks, we've never lip sync, we've never done any of that stuff. Which that might sound obvious, but actually, more than half of bands play to tracks. Elton's very rare in the sort of top level of the music industry that everything is live. Every aspect of his show is 100% live. So that's very important to me, even though I don't have a lot of experience playing piano, let alone singing and playing piano. But I do know this music. I know how Elton John's music should be played. So I think from going out and playing those small venues, my band and I, we learned our craft. And that's why we've kind of, over the last couple of years, taken it to this level where we're playing amazing venues like the Folk Theatre now, which we're really excited about. Our last concert was in Portugal. It was at a lovely theatre in a casino near Lisbon in Portugal. It was sold out and it was fantastic. And it really, took me full circle from when we first played. The very first Tom Zelton tribute gig was like less than 2 years ago in an empty bar in New Orleans. There were like 5 people there and I could barely play and sing. But we as a 3-piece believed in the potential of this project. And really now it's for people who like Elton John and who really dig the music, not just the celebrity side of things, but who are really into the music. This is I think it's something really special because it's a passion project. It's not just a business.
How many people are with you in the band and the project?
So my wife Deborah is the manager, and then I've got a wonderful bass player, and he's kind of head of the technical side of things, called Justin, and a drummer called Harry, and that's it. We're just a 3-piece. And Elton himself started out in the early 70s with his legendary 3-piece band with my friend Nigel Olson on drums, and the late great Dean Murray on bass guitar, and he took America by storm. He conquered the Troubadour in 1970 with that three-piece band. People were expecting a sort of retiring, shy singer-songwriter with spectacles and, probably wasn't going to say too much. And they got a three-piece rock and roll band. I mean, obviously blending in elements of gospel and country and R&B and soul and everything. But they blew the roof off the place. And Elton was doing handstands off the piano, getting underneath the piano, jumping around. And that's the type of spirit that we tried to bring to it. But he also played the ballads, and he also, I think a lot of tribute acts get it wrong, like the pantomime side of things, singing and dancing and parading around the stage and throwing your piano stool around. That is important. But Elton also has beautiful ballads, and he has beautiful soulful moments and serious moments. It's not just a panto where you're wearing stupid feathers. There are some incredible timeless songs. So I try and get the balance between the soulful, serious element and the fun right. I play Crocodile Rock, but I also play Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me. And we play Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me, and we don't play it, 3 times as fast as it should be played.
Yeah.
We really try and capture the soulful part of Elton.
Wow, I'm really excited about that. The fact that you're coming to Polk Theater in Lakeland, and the fact that you play Crocodile Rock, which is one of my favorite songs by Elton John. I think that was great. So I'm excited.
You mentioned the suit with feathers. I got to ask, do you wear the duck suit? Do you wear
I haven't worn the duck suit yet, but I've got some beautiful suits, kind of Rocket Man suits, covered in rhinestones, and I wear the same exact glasses covered in rhinestones that Elton wears. But I do want to get a duck suit, something, maybe not an exact duck suit, but I do want to get some kind of costume inspired by the duck suit. And maybe even though it's a bit cliched, I want to reinvent the famous Dodger one.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as the tour moves on, we'll definitely be getting some new costumes. But we have some beautiful Rocket Man suits designed in Austin, Texas, made in Austin, Texas, and yeah, they tend to go down pretty well.
If you want rhinestone, Texas is the place to go. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So how big is this tour that you've been on, and how long is it going to last for?
Well, the first date is on March the 4th, and it's in Florida. And we finish up in Wyoming on August the 29th. We've got about 2 weeks off in the middle. And the last count, I think it's 114 dates. So it's going to be a hectic tour, but we're all working musicians. We like to play and sing. And we're used to grueling tours. When we first played the tour of original music that I did, that got me on the Stylistics tour, we played a gig in every single contiguous state, all 48 contiguous states, in 2 months. So we're used to grueling driving. And that PR stunt, got us on the Stylistics tour. It didn't do anything else. And at one stage I was like, oh, why are we bothering? But persevering when the odds are against you is I think a very important trait in the music industry. So doing a tour like this, playing venues like the Polk Theatre, this is a dream come true. So it's not going to be, not for 1 second are we saying that this is too grueling for us. This is a real honor to be doing a tour like this.
I have to say, doing 48 contiguous states in 3 months, that's old school. I mean, that's something that you don't see a lot of nowadays. That's
well, I'm an old soul, really.
sounds like it. Yeah,
old music, and I like playing concerts and even small shows. I like playing live. I'm not so into the social media side of things. And I think a lot of the focus from people my age, only social media, only Instagram and Instagram stories and TikTok and stuff, it takes a lot of the focus away from the importance of improving as a live performer.
I have to agree with you there. I think that a lot of time is spent on social media these days and trying to push social media, when time can be spent elsewhere. And I think that's why a lot of people end up hiring PR firms and different things like that to kind of ease that aspect of it. But like I said, I'm really excited that you're coming to the Polk Theater I'm definitely gonna try and check you guys out. And
Oh,
I checked out your YouTube channel as well, and I think that you mentioned perseverance, and I think from what I saw on your channel, you definitely persevere. Some of the stuff that you have on there is amazing.
oh, thank you, Collar. Yeah, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to do this greatest music of all time podcast, do interviews with a lot of people I really admire. Um, and so that's a lot of what you'll find on the YouTube kind of interviews with people like Annie Lennox or Earth, Wind and Fire or Smokey Robinson, the late David Crosby. And again, that just started as a passion project when I got sober, the greatest music of all time podcast. And greatest music of all time is kind of the name of our music company that does this Tom Zelton tribute thing. And we're going to be working with some other artists, and hopefully later down the line, opening a recording studio in Los Angeles. But it's all just started as a passion project. If some of these things happen or don't happen, I'm sure I'll be very, very happy either way. Um, as long as music's involved somewhere and kind of being creative and having a chance to be entrepreneurial as well, because that's also a hobby. But yeah, it's definitely shows perseverance in the sense that I've bombarded people with so many videos, so many interviews. I did so many, especially during the lockdown on Zoom. But yeah, what can I say? I really enjoyed it.
Out of Elton John's songs, do you have a favorite?
I guess that's why they call it the blues. I love playing that, and playing it a bit more kind of, like Ray Charles would, or because that's what Elton himself does. That the original's like a ballad, soulful ballad, but he speeds it up a little. He adds in more bluesy lines, and I think his live version of that, it's always slightly different, and it never fails to kind of surprise me and inspire me. So I try and incorporate a little bit of that into when we play that song live. And then, of course, I love Funeral for a Friend, Love Lies Bleeding from Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. That's really his, magnum opus, as they say. That's an incredible song. And we play that. It's challenging to play that with a three-piece band, mind you, without David Johnstone's guitar and without a second keys player. But we somehow pull it off. And I might add that Harry on drums and Justin on bass, these guys sing very, very well. So the background vocals sound great.
And you mentioned earlier Phil Collins. So I got to ask you about that because growing up, that's all I got to hear in my mom's car is Phil Collins. She was a huge Phil Collins fan. So, do you have a favorite song by Phil Collins?
I like almost all Phil Collins. Well, I mean, I like all Phil Collins, not almost all. Phil is one of the heroes of all time. I cannot emphasize how much I love Phil's music, and also how down to earth he is. In terms of favorite songs by Phil Collins, Something Happened on the Way to Heaven. That is an absolute banger. Against All Odds. There's a particularly kind of harrowing version of Against All Odds from the Jonathan Ross show in 2016 when Phil has to take it down a step, I think, or half a step, probably a full step, and his voice sounds a bit older, and he sounds very kind of wistful and like almost a bit depressed. Um, and I was obsessed with that. I listened to it about 5,000 times in a week. This version, I hope it's still on YouTube. So Against All Odds, Take Me Home, One More Night, um, Susudio, so many. What about you, Colin and Paul?
Paul?
What? No, I'm like you. I like a lot of Phil Collins stuff, and I probably couldn't just pick one and go, hey, that's it, But I'm a big music guy. I listen to a little bit of everything. My dad was a working DJ and then a freelance DJ growing up, so we grew up with all kinds of music. So it's hard for me to ever go, hey, that's my favorite because my music history goes back even into the 1930s and 40s with actual Western music and works its way up. There's very little that I have not listened to, and there's very little that I don't appreciate. And if you ever look at my library, you'd be amazed how eclectic I really am. But yeah, I, like you said, Susu Studio, a lot of the pop stuff is what I got exposed to more with Phil, because none of us were really hardcore. Let's go get that latest Phil Collins album. Nothing against Phil. It's just, when you have such a a variety of taste, it's, hard to narrow it down and you miss out on some things that aren't played on the radio all the time.
Yeah.
And then, real quick, the other day somebody asked, how do you expose yourself to new music nowadays compared to when you were a kid? Personally, I don't get a chance to do that because we can curate what we listen to through playlist and through, streaming channels. So I don't get exposed to a lot of the newer releases anymore, which is kind of sad because it means I'm kind of putting myself in a box. But I think that's
Well,
just
I
me
think that,
showing
that
my
happens with
age.
a lot of us.
Yeah.
I think for Phil Collins, and correct me if I'm wrong, both of you can correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably don't know as much as you guys do when it comes to it. But my mom used to play Downtown Train a lot in the car.
Downtown Train, right? Yeah.
That she put on repeat. So that song was always in my head everywhere I went because of her.
So was Phil the driving force because you said you learned drums first? So was Phil kind of the driving force behind that? You'd listen to some of that drum work and go,
Yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
I
I
want to
mean,
do that."
it was definitely a driving force, but I mean, Phil's such a wonderful drummer. I
Yeah.
mean, I was definitely playing a bit more like Don Henley than Phil Collins, I have to say. I was very basic because I only had about a year on it, but I was all right. I could keep time. Again, I played like Nigel.
Yeah.
I tried to play like Nigel. Simple. Whereas Phil's a very technical player, but he's one of the best drummers of all time, Phil Collins.
Yeah, he absolutely is, and I like, the song it tells you where I am because I barely woke up before the interview, by the way, just so you know. Um um I can't remember the song. The song that basically is supposed to be historically based on when the lifeguard let his friend to die because he was trying to hit on a girl. And there's a big solo in the middle of the song, that drum solo. What's
Huh.
the name?
I wonder what one that is.
That's I never draw a blank with music, Carlo. This is your fault. Oh, crap.
You know the older stuff better than I do.
Oh, shush. Yes. um. Oh. Oh crap! I just had it.
That's
Keep
okay.
talking. I'll think about it.
Yeah, we can
I'm
come.
sorry
We can
about
come
this.
back to it. We can come back to it. So, Tom, you have a big music taste as well. Obviously, I mean, you were inspired by so many different musicians. Do you listen to multiple genres of music, or is it pretty much older styles of music?
I listen to everything. But I'm very drawn to, rock, soft rock, and soul music from the 1970s in particular. But I listen to everything from, from that to country, uh, blues, and some jazz, uh, hip hop. I listen to all genres, and I listen to newer stuff as well. I just love music and I love collecting records.
Do you try to when you do these cover songs and you cover different artists, do you try to mix it up a little bit with your style with some newer genre, or do you try to stick to the classical sound?
When it comes to playing Elton John's music, I don't try and imitate Elton, but my voice just sounds quite similar to his anyway. So people like that side of it. And as far as the parts and playing them like the Elton John band, like Nigel and Dee and Davey and whatever, I'm very kind of severe that it has to be played with respect to the way that they play it. Not trying to if people try and come in to the band and try and say, oh, we should play it like this and we should do the drums more complicated and we should do this. No.
No.
Should be playing these songs authentically. So yeah, I'm pretty strict about that.
And I would think that's the way the people who go to see that show want to see it. They don't want to see your take on Elton John. They want to see, yeah.
They don't want the acid jazz version of rock. They want the straight up version.
Yeah, they don't want you to break out in country music and then go to hip hop with Elton John lyrics, right?
Exactly.
By the way, the song I was tripped on was "In the Air Tonight."
Oh yeah, what a fantastic song! Incredible.
Yeah, but my understanding is, at least rumor says, there's a whole story behind the
Oh yeah.
story.
No, there is. It's about his wife and the breakup of his first marriage, I
okay.
think. So it's
Yeah,
yeah.
I've heard a couple of
That's a
different versions, and he's never come out and said which one it is, which is interesting. He kind of lets it go. Yeah.
yeah. It's really, really brilliant. Just to warn you, I've got 1% now battery on. So if I
Oh.
can't, um, it's because of that. But I'll try and log on my phone if that does indeed happen.
No,
Okay.
that's okay. We're at the 30-minute mark anyway, so I was gonna head that way. Tom, where can people find you?
If they go to tomseltontribute.com or tomcridland.com, Tom Elton Tribute. If you type that into Google, you'll find it. But I mean, I'm hoping that some of your listeners and your fans will be joining us at the Pulp Theatre, and you can find the tickets for that online. And it's going to be a fantastic night.
Absolutely. And Paul, before we're out of here, do you want to ask the icebreaker question?
Not an icebreaker, but it's a question we ask everybody at the end of the show. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Pineapple what?
On pizza, yes or no?
No way.
Oh,
Good.
That's
That's the right answer.
All
That's
right.
the right answer.
Yeah, that's the
No,
right
there's
answer.
no way. I've never had it, and I never will. No, thank you.
Awesome. Well,
Good call. Good call.
Tom, thank
But
you so much.
respect all people who do.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Carlo. Thank you so much, Paul. And if you are coming, send me an email. It'd be great to meet you. Before the gig, and hang out a bit backstage or whatever. Just let me know.
We'll do.
That'll be him. I'm up in Jacksonville, so if you're ever in the
Ah,
Jacksonville
yeah,
area,
long-
yeah.
Long way. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well.
Thank you,
stay in
Tom.
touch. Thanks, guys. Take care.